Hi, Sue Chemnitz here, and you can find me online at Sue Chemnitz Art, either on excuse me, either on Facebook or on Instagram. And thank you for joining me today. This webinar is an example of demos that we do in design. Now, design is an online workshop. It's part of Color Design Sketch Back to the Basics. Because I feel like foundations are really important, and I feel like all of us want to skip to like the big gorgeous stuff, and sometimes we can and sometimes we need a recipe. So this is that. You can get more info on design at bit.ly/SK Design. That's bit.ly/SK capital DESIGN. As I mentioned, I usually follow a recipe for design, and what we're going to talk about a little bit in this webinar is symmetry. And so here are some of the supplies that we're going to use. You don't have to use my same supplies. You can use your own colors, your own paints. I do kind of like these Dina Wakley heavy bodies, and I like Dina Wakley too. So there you go, little plug for her. So there's magenta and tangerine, there's turquoise and sky. Oops, and one more in the warms. This is actually by Blick, and she probably has something similar. I just have a whole bunch of this. Cadmium yellow deep is the name of that one. And then, like I said, the sky and the turquoise, and some titanium white. So as you can see, I'm not terribly married to one particular paint kind. And then I did do a little bit of the sketching, and I want to tell you a little bit about the way that I do things, and you obviously will get your own way of doing things. I like to sit with the Lord every morning, and I just listen to him, and every now and then he gives me an image. And I can't say that all of my images that I do are directly from him. They're all from him, but not all directly from him. But this one was. And I was thinking about Mary and how she was waiting on the Lord. Maybe it was Anna. Anyway, I don't remember what I was thinking. I just remember the image, and it's in my sketchbook anyway. So anyway, he gave me this image of just sitting and waiting. So I did it in kind of my little quirky style that I've been working on lately. And here are her knees and her torso, her head, her little feet, and it's pretty symmetrical. Now, symmetrical is a mirror image. It's not a copy. This would be a copy. This is a mirror image with the exception of my rings there. So this is almost not quite symmetrical. It's probably close to as symmetrical as I get. And I did a little sketching beforehand. Yes, I get to cheat because I'm on this side of the camera. And I left her arms though, because these are her two legs, and here's her little torso, and then her arms. And gosh, I love doing like arms and little hands. So in the original sketch, they're even just probably stick figures, but anyway, we'll just sketch these quite simply in. And you know what? If you don't think you're good at sketching, it's because you just haven't done it enough. It's as simple as that, and that's what I believe, and I'm not changing my mind. So there are her little arms. It's gonna be a little tricky getting the paintbrush on those little teeny things. But she's pretty symmetrical, isn't she? She's just waiting. She's in a posture of waiting. She is, what's she doing? She's actually sitting, and she was sitting on a curve. So that's what I'm going to use this washi tape for, just to make a very kind of fun little horizontal across there. And her butt's probably about here. So I'm going to put that there. And do I always tape down? No, I very rarely do that these days, but I had a square piece here, and I, keeping with the symmetrical theme, I guess, And I just thought it would be fun to have a little border around the outside. I sometimes think that's just super fun. So we're going to try and get this at about the same spot over here. Again, your curb could have some perspective. Hers simply doesn't. See if I can, maybe I'll cut this side, because I think on this side of where my hands are, that would be easier. And it doesn't have to be exact, because we'll get paint over that. Does that bother you that the side's not cut? I hope not. Won't be able to tell at the end anyway. So I also put some paints over to the side here. So my warm colors up at the top. Well, the pink kind of, it's not totally a warm color, but I think of it as warm. And yeah, I did put her down here. I just want to say that there's kind of a rule of thirds. If you fold your paper in thirds this way and in thirds this way, there's kind of a rule there. I didn't do it up and down, or I did it up and down, but not necessarily on the side. And I want you to kind of think about what that says to you as I'm putting in just a little bit of her flesh color, and these probably won't be exact. I don't know, is flesh ever exact? Probably not. There's a whole bunch of different, that's what I do. I hold it up to my flesh and see, nope, it needs a little bit more pink. She's a little on the yellow side there, so. And I always keep I try and keep the flesh pretty, let's move this over a little bit, pretty light. So, and I didn't need a whole ton of that either, did I? Just enough for her face and for her neck and for her arms. And this is what we do in these courses. I do a little demo to kind of just get us into whatever that day's topic is. It feels a little dark over there, doesn't it? But so I just add a little more white. It's really doesn't need to be too much harder than that. Those are going to be tricky to go around for the background, but that's okay. And you know what? I am just going to wipe some of this paint off over here. I often gesso just to add that in, I often gesso before I paint, but I didn't in this because I'm not doing multimedia in the background. I'm not using stencils. I am just simply painting in this, which that isn't, I have water over here too, in case you're wondering what the gurgling noise is. Yeah, and this, they won't all be just painting. I like to put a little bit of multimedia in the background. Gosh, I didn't put out nearly enough paint. See, and that's part of using gesso, is you end up using less paint. I'm going to get a smaller paintbrush to go around the sides here. And I like using a little bit bigger paintbrushes because it goes faster and it happens to fit my style, which is a little bit looser. And I like being pretty quick when I'm doing the background. But as I move in towards, I'm gonna just blend those in. Sorry, I should have finished that sentence, but I want to blend this in over here before it gets dry, because that is one of the secrets behind using acrylics, is doing the next section before the first section dries. So, okay, so that's good, and then I'll come back. I didn't put enough paint out here, did I? And as I said, I think that's because there's no gesso on it, so it's soaking into the paper a little bit. I like mixing two colors together and never having it absolutely quite the same. I haven't thought about what color to do her hair. It's okay. And as you can see, even her little pigtails, did I say that before? Even her little pigtails are a little bit symmetrical. And I'm okay with it not being exact. Here again, I don't want that background to dry before I do the next part, because that's how I keep that kind of blendy look. I'm kind of the queen of blendy, which just the way I paint. All right. Came down a little bit, so you know what? I just go up there with my finger and wipe it off. Just a little paint tip for the day. And I want a little bit of color so that it's just not so stark there. And down below here, I'll probably have a little bit of gray. I'm just gonna do it a little more green. Maybe I'll get a little bit more greeny green, a little limey color out for the bottom. So it doesn't feel like she's sitting on the sky as well as underneath the sky. It's a pretty color combination, isn't it? That turquoise and the blue and the lime green. Doesn't have to be quite that vibrant. All right. I try and keep the demos in the coursework relatively easy, so it's up to you to increase the difficulty should you want, or if you just want to keep them easy and fun to do, you can do that too. I like keeping my work a little bit more whimsical, and I'm okay with that, just a little bit of light down there. And you know, part of the objective of the design course is to design with a purpose. Now, as I mentioned, I have her sitting on this lower third imaginary line, and that's exactly where my tape is going across. It would have a different feel if she was right smack in the middle. Even though she wouldn't be that much higher, it would still have a little bit of a different feel. And we'll see as we get into this if that feel changes as we add little segments in the background. And I'm not going to add that much back there, but because it is about symmetry in this. But I'm going to put some flowers here. That's a big flower on her big little knee there, isn't it? And you know, I probably want some circles over here, but that'll drive me crazy trying to paint in amongst those. So this has cool color on it. I always wipe my brush off in between. I'm a pretty dry brush gal. So let's mix these two together, because I don't want to mix those two together. I want to mix these two together. Mix the cad yellow. This just makes kind of a gorgeous, kind of orangey, melony kind of color that I've been loving actually for the past couple years. And that's okay that I got a little paint in there. It's a different color than just orange. And oftentimes I'll even put a couple of different colors right on here and mix it. I'll put those little corners in right there. All right, so I'm gonna get a little white so it looks a little more light, like the light is coming down from above. We'll put this is making this leg come out, so we'll just keep it kind of nice and dark there. Then we'll move into that more melon, like, you know, M-E-L-O-N, melon color. And you can see when I'm painting, I just kind of go back and forth until I just kind of like it. And it's you know, I don't make it much more difficult than that. And especially since we're going to go in and just put some outlines around it too. And you know what? I forgot her little feet, so just get another little. Her skin tones are almost just a lighter color of that melon, isn't it? How about a yellow top? I think that'll just keep her nice and warm. And sometimes those warm, I don't want bright yellow. Not a bright yellow person. It's a nice warm top though, isn't it? Oh, look at that. Look at that little cutie. All right, her waist is in there, but I'm not going to show that. Now, if we, you know, we've started to make it a more of a near symmetrical by putting that flower there, but I'm gonna go a step further. Just put some marks over here. Let's keep the marks towards the bottom. A little bit bigger. All right, that's good for that. I'm gonna make the center of my flower that same yellow, carries down that yellow from up above. Maybe make it a touch brighter. But I want my petals of my flower to stay white. And I think I will go in and do that with this lip marker. Just bring some of my white back. Oh, that's kind of fun, isn't it? Maybe I should have done that more often inside of that flower. I like that little sketchy look. All right, so what else do I want to add? You know, yes, she's sitting on a curb, and we're going to need some shadowing down here so that it looks like that. But in an effort to make it just a little less symmetrical, she looks like she's receiving. And it's kind of hard to tell because there's no outlines on her yet, but she looks like she's willing to wait, doesn't she? I like that. I like that. I am going to put a couple trees though up on this side over here. And you know, that's kind of soaking into that blue paint, so you know what, I'm gonna just add a little bit of white. Should do this so that I don't infect my tube with green, which I'm prone to do when I'm impatient. Here's one. Gonna bring it down just a little bit more, because that kind of, actually the shape of my trees kind of reflects her knees, which I didn't notice before. And so, does it feel any different to you now that we've made it a little less symmetrical? And if so, is it a good feeling? Is it a bad feeling? Symmetry in art is just, it's fun. It's way fun. But asymmetrical in real life often makes people feel uncomfortable. And we like symmetry. We like chairs to be even on both sides and not to wiggle. You know, when like you go into that restaurant and you have wiggly chairs, that's like uncomfortable, isn't it? So there are times when symmetry is like really important. But in art, often it's a little more exciting. If it's not, oh, that one's getting kind of big, isn't it? Gosh, it's okay. In art, though, it makes it a little more exciting if if it's not exactly symmetrical. And then, you know, you that know and love me, you know I love my little birds. So I'm just gonna draw him in first. Does it have yellow on it? Let's see. Yep, it does. It's a little bit better. Okay. There's kind of a sweet little bird, isn't it? And this is a little more painterly than we often do in this series of workshops, but it's pretty close. This is a pretty good example of what we do, and you can follow along. Most people follow along later. They'll watch it. I think they watch it through. You know what? I'm going to do my exact. Oh, I love pink hair. So give her a little pink hair. I don't know why. I would never make my hair pink. Well, I shouldn't say never, but if I had thought of it when I was younger, maybe I would have. I don't know. Okay. So that is it. I'm kind of wondering if we'll put the shadow in with a pencil. So there are some kind of fun tools that I really, really enjoy for my sketching. A pen, and then there's something called a Marks All, which is a pencil by Stabilo, and it says all on it, and it's paper, glass, plastic, metal. So obviously I'm not too into anything but the paper, but let's sketch her, and I'm gonna wait and do the bird last. When I start with my ink, I usually start on this side and move over to this side. So it's kind of hard so far to see without the real feel of her until we get some lines in there, huh? There's my favorite elbows. I do have a very loose line-based technique to my sketching, which you may or may not have. And I'm going to get a bigger pen. I think it was here. Oh, here it is. It's over on the other side. So, bigger black pen. So my question to you, as I'm sketching, I'm not too good at doing two things at once. So my question to you is, we started off very symmetrical, and how is she feeling to you now? Different, more exciting, same, too sketchy, hard to tell? Did you like her better before when she was symmetrical, that mirror image, or do the trees add just a little bit? I really actually like putting my tree trunks in a little catty-whacked too. We'll define this little curb a little bit. Get her little feet going here. Put a little shadow down there below her feet, but I am going to use, because she's so small, I'm not going to put in facial features. Oh, I want to put in my flower before I do that, in my these guys over here. All right. So, what do you think of our little waiting girl? I think she's kind of fun. Let's put some shadows in. I don't necessarily have, other than the light coming from above, and I sure could have done a little bit of that in the sky, but keep that little heavenly aspect just a little bit. And I'm going to get that Stabilo marks all and just I'm going to make these lines a little bit heavier. I'm going to put a shadow underneath this one side. And I'm also going to just fill that in a little bit so that it looks a little more curvy and gray and not just a piece of tape back there. And I'm going to take a paintbrush and water this down a little bit. I'm going to bring the shadow up so that there's a little bit behind there. See how that marks all just, oh my gosh, it's like just nice, thick, rich. I'll even put a little shadow under these trees. I'm going to be pretty careful in back of her because I want to emphasize her, not pull your attention away. So, but that does set her back just a little bit, that little bit of a shadow there. There, and that pretty much completes our demo. Let me see if I have a knife handy to cut those edges, and I'll show you what she looks like after we take. I want to be careful not to cut through my paper. So we'll see how well we did with that. And she has kind of an instant frame back there. Look at that. Sorry, don't want to get you seasick. So this is essentially what we do in the class. We do a little demo pertaining to whatever the theme of that particular workshop, that particular morsel of the workshop is. Some of the other things that we are going to go over in the design series are balance, line, which we were doing just a little bit of, artful placement, where you want to place things on your page, combining elements, you know, circles, squares, maybe a little more abstract piece in that one, and more on, of course, some symmetry and asymmetrical. We'll explore asymmetrical. And you know what? So there's usually six portions, 6 morsels, I call them, and then a couple of bonuses that are thrown in. Kind of like dessert. Those bonuses are kind of like dessert. Yum. And so I want to invite you once again to explore and join and register. And remember, what it really is all about is designing with a purpose and helping us to become a more confident artist when we sit down with our paper and our paints and our inks. Yeah. In closing, thank you for joining me. Y'all have a great day. Toodles!